Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Chester Racecourse here on Wednesday. It's the 10th of May, 2023. Gonna look at almost all the races here on Wednesday's program from Chester, but before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and I mean it, around the world. It's a good week of racing from Chester this week. It's always one of my favorite race meetings of the year. Let's look at these races. There's 7 on tap races today, but we're not going to look at the first race or the sixth race. So the 130 and the 420, we'll skip over those. So we'll start off with the second race, the 205, which is a tote 100K guaranteed place pot everyday handicap. Class 3 handicap going for a $36,000 purse. Race for 3-year-olds only. Horses rated 76 to 95. 12 horses are dashing 1,000 meters or 5 furlongs on the turf course. I'm going to take the 4-horse Democracy Dilemma as a top selection. Let's go 429 in your TriCash trifecta. 429 TriCash trifecta. Top selection of 4-horse Democracy Dilemma. 3-year-old gelding here. David Evans trains. Ocean Murphy gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 22nd of April. Thirsk, 5 furlongs in soft ground and class 3 handicap. Stepping up in class, he won by 1.5 lengths that day. And he had dream trip. He was on the front end driving. He quickened up nicely and he got the job done. Coming here to a speed favoring track, a little bit of a wide poster, which is not ideal here, but I think he has the speed to overcome it and win today and get the job done. 2 back over the 6 furlongs at Langfield, 7th of April in a Class 4 handicap. He finished second by a head that day, and he just kind of missed late. He was getting a good turn of foot there, but he still needed something. Not the world's worst race for him there. And then a Langfield off the 2-month refreshing, 6 furlongs in a Class 3 handicap. He finished third by 2 lengths that day. Didn't weaken out of it, but needed that extra turn of foot. First off the bench, you need the race there. And then the 6th February at Wolverhampton, 5 furlongs in a Class 4 handicap, winning by 3.5 lengths. He basically won for fun on the front end, a very good race. Coming here today, I think he's a very likely winner. The 2-horse Squeller for Tom Marquand. I think he's second likeliest winner. Hasn't been seen since the Cora and Wallace Stakes at Newmarket back in the autumn, where he finished 6 by 3.5 lengths, and he saw some very tough competition. Down the class ladder, back to 5 furlongs, drawn on the inside, which is ideal. Has some forwardly pace. It wouldn't surprise me if he finds the winners in closure. I'll use him in the place pot here. But to recount my selection for the second race, 205 from Chester, let's take the 4-horse Democracy Dilemma. Give kudos to the 2-horse Squalor. 429 TriCash trifecta. 4-2 in your place pot. The third race, the 240, it's the Cheshire Oaks. It's a fillies listed stakes for Class 1 horses, going for a $120,000 purse. Race for 3-year-old fillies. 9 horses are going 2,200 meters, or about a mile 3/8 on the turf course. Going to take the 6-horse, Save the Last Stance. I'm going to go 625 in your TriCash trifecta. 625 TriCash trifecta. Top selection 6-horse, Save the Last Stance. 3-year-old filly by Galileo here. Aidan O'Brien trains. Ryan Moore gets the mount. Horse's most recent outing came the 5th of April at Leopardstown in Ireland. Heavy ground, a mile a quarter in a maiden race for the fillies. And the horse went by 2.25 lengths, and she upped set it at 20-1 that day. She was wide throughout, but she was under the drive. She quickened up nicely. It was an all-around good race. She's coming here today. You're not going to get a quarter of that 20-1 odds, but she should get a good trip, and I think she could run a good one here today. She's bred for this mile 3 furlongs. 2 back at Thurles on the 6th of October, a mile in a fillies maiden race. She finished 5th by 9.75 lengths. She didn't weaken out of it, but she didn't quicken up either. She was plodding along decently. I didn't think it was the world's worst race for her. She showed potential. She wanted some more ground. If the race is a mile and a quarter, she probably wouldn't have won either. But mile 3 furlongs that day, she probably would have won. Coming back here to a mile 3 furlongs, I think she's a very likely winner. 4 to 5, she's a single for me in the quad pod that begins with this race. So to recap my selection for the 240, third race from Chester, it's the Cheshire Oaks. Let's take the 6-horse, Save the Last Stance. 625 in the TriCash trifecta. That's going to be the only real way to make some money with this race. Let's get to the 315, the 4th race from Chester, which is the Group 3 Chester Vase Stakes. It's a Group 3 event for Class 1 horses, going for a $144,000 purse. Race field of 5 horses going 2,400 meters or a mile and a half on the turf course here in this Derby prep. My top selection, I'm going to take the 2-horse Arrest. I'm going to go 251 in your TriCash trifecta. 251 TriCash trifecta. Top selection 2-horse Arrest. 3-year-old colt by Frankel. John owns. Jonathan Gazin trains. Frankie Dettori gets the mount. Horse's most recent appearance came in Paris at Saint Cloud. A mile and a quarter in the Group 1 Criterion de Saint Cloud. And he finished second by a head that day. He stalked all the way around the racecourse. He just missed late, but he had a decent turn of foot on the demanding ground. Nothing bad at all. Prior to that, they took the horse to Wales to Foss Last. A mile in a Class 4 novice race. If they went that far, to get the victory, he was going to win. He was betting to the ground 17 cents a dollar, and he won by 5.5 lengths. And it was a paid workout, an all-around good, easy race from there. And then raced around the on a very wide poster at Sandown, 1 mile in a Class 4 main race on fast ground. He won by a nose that day. Took him a little time to get going, and he was decreasing margin late, but he got the job done. It was a good, gritty performance. Going to a mile and a half shouldn't be a problem. Should be forwardly paced. I'm going to use him. The 5-horse Handriness for Franny Norton wouldn't surprise me if this horse gets a good trip. Most recently, in the Epsom Derby trial at Epsom on the 25th of April over the mile and a quarter, the horse finished second by 3/4 length, and he just needs some extra kick that day, but he didn't run half bad. Prior to that, he won from a stupidly wide poster in a main race at Kempton as a 2-year-old over the mile 3 furlongs. Another horse coming back here. It wouldn't surprise me. We'll use him in the quad pod. But to recap my selection for the 4th, the 3:15 from Chester, it's the Group 3 Chester Vase. Let's take the 2-horse Arrest. Give kudos to the 5-horse Handriness. 251 Tricast Trifecta. 2-5 in that multi-race. The 5th race, the 3:45, it's the Camden Pale Handicap. It's Class 3 handicap going for a $30,000 purse. Race for 3-year-olds only. Horses rate 71 to 90. 14 horses are going 1,200 meters or 6 furlongs on the turf course. I'm going to take here the 4-horse Commander Straker as a top selection. 482 in your Tricast Trifecta. 482 Tricast Trifecta, top selection of 4-horse Commander Straker. 3-year-old colt by Cody Bear. David Longhand trains. Russ Orion gets the mounts. The horse's most recent out came the 3rd of June last year at Epsom. 6 furlongs in a Class 2 conditions race, and the horse finished 3rd by 2.5 lengths that day. He was with them early on. He kind of hit the wall late. It was a very fast 6 for him for a 2-year-old race. Refreshing here, drawn a little bit, drawn well, has some early pace. I think he could get some redemption off that last race to his 3-year-old debut. 2 back at Bath, 20th of May, 5 furlongs in a Class 5 novice race, and the horse won by 1.5 lengths that day. He was on the drive and excelling, quickened up nicely, had the forwardly pace to win that day, and then at Weatherby last May on fast ground, 5.5 furlongs in a Class 4 mean race. He finished second by 6.5 lengths that day. He needed the race for the experience. He didn't, he didn't run bad, but he didn't run great either. It was just an average race. Refreshing here, I like him a lot. I'm going to also use the 8-horse Royal Dress for Ryan Moore. Was a winner last time out in April at Doncaster and soft ground. 6 furlongs in Class 5 novice race. Won by 2 3/4 lengths. And basically won in a trot. A very good race for him there. Prior to that, as a 2-year-old in a novice race at Doncaster over the 6th, the horse finished second by 3/4 length, and he couldn't catch the winner who ran better, but this horse again got down the race course well. Has some forwardly pace. Philly taking on the boys in the handicap. It wouldn't surprise me. I'll use her in the quad pod. But to recap my selection for the 3:45, the 5th race from Chester, it's the Camden Pale handicap. Let's take the number 4-horse Commander Straker. Give kudos to the 8-horse Royal Dress. 482 Tricast Trifecta. 48 in the place pod. Like we said earlier, the 6th race to 420, we're going to skip over that race. Very tough novice or main race that you could probably go 5 different ways. It wouldn't surprise me if a $30 horse wins this race. So we'll skip over that race and head over to the Wednesday nightcap from Chester, the 4:55, the 7th race, which is the Everyone's Turf handicap. It's Class 4 handicap going for a $24,000 purse. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards. Horses rate 66 to 85. 14 horses are going 1,400 meters or 7 furlongs on the turf course. Going to take the 11-horse Melly's Flyer as a top selection. 11-4-8 in your Tricast Trifecta. 11-4-8 Tricast Trifecta. Top selection 11-horse Melly's Flyer. 5-year-old gun by Dandy Man. George Scott trains. Andrea Tazzini gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 4th of May at Linkfield. 6 furlongs in a Class 4 handicap, and the horse finished 5th by 2 lengths that day. He plodded along. He needed something more, but I didn't think it was a half bad race. He's making the quick turnaround from last Thursday to Wednesday. 6-week turnaround back to the turf here for the first time in a minute. I think he'd get the trip to win. His form hasn't been half bad, and I think the quick turnaround with the good form should really suit him well. 2 back at Wolverhampton, 10th of April, 6 furlongs in a Class 5 handicap. Stepping down in class, he won by 1/4 lengths, even with the high weight. He had to turn a foot to win, and he went away with it. A very good race from there. And then 28th of March at Wolverhampton, 6 furlongs in a Class 5 handicap. He finished 5th by 4.5 lengths. He never was really into it. He just plodded along, never really getting a good trip. And then at Kempton, 6 furlongs in an apprentice handicap. He finished 3rd by 3 lengths. Again, he got down the race course well with some forwardly pace. Refreshing here today. I'm going to give him a shot. The 4-horse, I think he's your second likeliest winner, Gorak, for Callum Shepard, was nearly a winner on heavy ground last time at Leicester, where he couldn't catch the winner, but he got down the race course well. He goes up a little bit better with a little slightly faster grounds. Two back at Red Car on the 10th of April, 7 furlongs in that Class 3 handicap. That was a very tough race. He never was really going. But before that, in early April, Doncaster, 7 furlongs in that Class 4 handicap. He won by 5.5 lengths and won easily. If he runs that race today, he can win. He's forwardly paced. He has a good post draw. 12-1. He's an upsetter in this race. So to recount my selection for the nightcap, the 7th race, the 455, let's take the 11 horse here, Melly's Flyer. Give kudos to the 4 horse, Gorak. 11-4-8, Tricash Trifecta. 11-4 in your multi-race. So good luck to all, and please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5. Good luck, everybody.